Ladies and gentlemen, there is something deeply transformative about quiet obedience. In a world where we are often taught to shout our presence, to be loud in our actions, and to demand attention for every step we take, the strength found in moving in silence can feel almost foreign. But the truth is, there's a power in quiet obedience that goes beyond what can be seen or heard. It is the kind of power that doesn't need to announce itself because it's rooted in something far deeper than the surface noise of our world. We are all familiar with the feeling of wanting to make a big splash, to be seen, to be noticed, and to feel as though our efforts matter. There's nothing wrong with wanting recognition, but I want to challenge you to consider this. What would happen if, instead of seeking validation and approval, we chose to operate in quiet obedience? What if we took a step back and allowed our actions to speak for themselves, trusting that what we do in silence will be enough? Quiet obedience doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't demand applause. It doesn't need a crowd to validate its worth. Instead, it rests in the assurance that what we are doing is aligned with something greater than ourselves. It is about trusting in a purpose and having the humility to let that purpose unfold in its own time without trying to force it into existence. There's something sacred about working in silence. We often look around and see others moving with urgency, climbing higher, pushing for bigger, louder outcomes. And it's tempting to follow suit, to hurry and make our mark in the same way. But sometimes the most powerful moves are the ones we make quietly. The moments when we remain still, grounded, and obedient to the whisper of purpose within us. When we stop trying to control the narrative and instead trust the process. Obedience is not always easy. It requires patience, faith, and sometimes even surrender. To move quietly is not to move without effort or intention. It's to move with conviction, trusting that our steps matter even if they aren't the ones everyone is watching. It's the ability to keep going when no one notices, when the results aren't immediate, and when the road feels lonely. Think about the moments in your life where things didn't make sense, when you felt that pull to do something, but the world around you didn't understand. It's easy to second guess ourselves in those moments, to think that maybe we're not on the right path or that we're missing out on something bigger. But I'm here to tell you that there is power in staying the course, even when it feels like no one is there to cheer you on. God doesn't need a spotlight to do something great in your life. Quiet obedience doesn't need an audience because it's already aligned with divine timing. Often the most significant breakthroughs happen when we're not looking for them, when we've chosen to trust the unseen process. It's in those quiet, persistent moments of faith where transformation is taking place beneath the surface, where we are being prepared for the moment that will bring everything together. There is something beautiful about letting your actions speak louder than your words. It's not about being silent because you have nothing to say, but because you are so deeply connected to what you're doing that you don't need validation. You are moving in alignment with your purpose, not for the approval of others, but for the joy of simply doing what you've been called to do. It's easy to get caught up in comparison, to think that if we aren't out there making noise, if we aren't striving for the spotlight, then we're missing out. But the reality is that those who move quietly in obedience are often the ones who make the greatest impact. They don't need to be the loudest in the room because their consistency, their faithfulness, and their commitment to purpose speak volumes in ways words never could. Let me remind you today that moving in silence is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. Strength that knows it doesn't need to be validated by anyone but the Creator who called you. Strength that says, I trust the process, I trust the timing, and I trust that everything I'm doing now is laying the foundation for something greater. It's the power to keep moving even when the road ahead is uncertain because you know you're not alone. So in those moments when the world seems loud and everyone else is rushing ahead, take a deep breath and remember the power of quiet obedience. Move in silence. Trust that your steps are not in vain. Know that you are being guided every step of the way, and that even when no one sees, your obedience is making a way for the purpose you are destined to fulfill. The beauty of quiet obedience is that it doesn't need to explain itself. It simply moves forward, trusting that in the silence there is a purpose unfolding that is far greater than anything the noise of the world can offer. Quiet obedience is rooted in trust, not validation. When we move in silence, we're not waiting for applause or recognition from others. Instead, we trust that the path we are on is the right one, even when there's no external evidence to confirm it. In a world that often pushes us to seek approval, we must remember that our purpose is not to seek validation from those around us, but to align ourselves with a greater plan. This kind of trust allows us to stay focused on the journey rather than on the outcome, knowing that each step, no matter how small or unseen, is leading us to something bigger. When we trust in quiet obedience, we let go of the need for immediate affirmation and embrace the process. It's about knowing that our work, even if unnoticed, has value. The trust we place in our calling and in the timing of our lives assures us that what we do in silence is never wasted. It's a deep belief that the right results will come in their own time without the need to rush or force things to happen. Trust in quiet obedience means believing that everything is unfolding as it should. Power is found in action, not in seeking attention. In a world obsessed with visibility, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we must be constantly seen to make an impact. We are taught that success is measured by how loudly we announce our achievements or how many people are watching us. But true power lies in what we do when no one is looking. It's in the small, consistent actions that build something meaningful over time. Quiet obedience isn't about drawing attention to yourself. It's about faithfully pursuing what you've been called to do, regardless of whether the world is applauding. When we focus on the action itself rather than the recognition it might bring, we tap into a deeper form of power. It's the kind of power that grows quietly, like a seed planted in fertile soil. The results may not be immediate or visible to others, but they are steady and enduring. By moving in silence, we give ourselves the freedom to work without the pressure of needing validation, allowing our efforts to speak for themselves. The strength in this approach is that it is rooted in purpose, not performance, and that's where real power resides. Moving in silence requires patience, faith, and surrender. It's easy to become discouraged when progress isn't immediately visible, especially when everyone around you seems to be achieving things quickly and loudly. But true quiet obedience demands that we trust the process and remain patient in our journey. Patience is knowing that the work we're doing now will eventually bear fruit, even if the results aren't seen right away. It's about holding on to the belief that every step, no matter how slow, is taking us closer to the purpose we are meant to fulfill. Faith is equally essential in quiet obedience. It's the belief that what we are doing matters, even in the unseen moments. Faith gives us the courage to keep going when there's no applause, no acknowledgement, and no sign that things are moving forward. And surrender comes into play when we let go of our desire to control every outcome. Surrender means trusting that things will unfold in their own time, not according to our own timeline or expectations. It's about releasing the need to force or manipulate circumstances and instead allowing space for the process to evolve naturally, knowing that our obedience is leading us where we need to go. True transformation happens beneath the surface in unseen moments. It's in the quiet, private acts of obedience where the groundwork for the future is laid, even though no one else may notice. When we're focused solely on the external results, we can miss the quiet, incremental shifts that are happening within us. It's in those moments of stillness, when we remain faithful despite the lack of immediate acknowledgement, that deep inner transformation takes place. This transformation isn't always visible to the naked eye, but it is shaping us in ways that will later become evident in our lives. The process of growth often requires time and hidden effort. Seeds must grow deep roots before they can break through the soil and sprout into something visible. Likewise, the work we do in silence, whether it's learning, improving, or refining our character, prepares us for the larger opportunities and challenges that lie ahead. The moments when no one is watching are when we cultivate patience, resilience, and discipline. These quiet moments shape our inner strength and equip us for the time when we will step into the spotlight. So even when it feels like nothing is happening, trust that beneath the surface, transformation is unfolding. Strength lies in remaining faithful even when no one notices. It's easy to get discouraged when our efforts aren't recognized or celebrated. In a culture that often values visibility and instant gratification, it can be tempting to think that if we aren't being acknowledged, we're not making a difference. But true strength is found in the consistency of our commitment, even when there is no applause or validation. It's the quiet determination to continue doing what we've been called to do, regardless of whether anyone sees or understands. Remaining faithful in the silence requires resilience. It means trusting that our actions have purpose, even if they're not immediately rewarded or recognized. It's about having the inner strength to keep moving forward when the external world seems indifferent to our efforts. Faithfulness doesn't seek the limelight. It's steady and persistent. It's the quiet perseverance that eventually builds something powerful, often in ways that we cannot foresee in the moment. Over time, our faithfulness becomes the foundation for something greater, something that, while unseen for now, will eventually bear fruit. The strength to remain faithful in the silence is the strength that carries us through the hardest moments and prepares us for the moments when our purpose will be fully revealed. In a world that thrives on noise and visibility, the power of quiet obedience often goes unnoticed. Yet it is in those moments of silent action where we choose to trust the process, remain faithful, and continue without immediate recognition that true transformation occurs. The world may urge us to move loudly, to chase approval, and to seek external validation, but there is a deeper strength in moving quietly, in trusting that our purpose is being fulfilled, even when no one is watching. Quiet obedience teaches us that it's not the applause that shapes us, but the steady commitment to our calling, even in solitude. When we choose to act without fanfare, we allow ourselves to be shaped by the work we do rather than the reward we seek. We cultivate patience, faith, and resilience, and we trust that every quiet step is leading us closer to the future we are meant to fulfill. The transformation we undergo in these unseen moments prepares us for what's ahead, building the inner strength we need to face the challenges to come. So let us embrace the power of moving in silence. Let us take pride in the quiet work, knowing that it is making a way for something far greater. In time, our obedience will speak for itself, and the purpose we have been so quietly working toward will be revealed in ways more profound than we could ever imagine.